Right now, the device in your hands is running on ancient African code. The advanced mathematics powering your phone's algorithms. The surgical principles saving lives in modern ERs. The metal purification processes that sparked the Industrial Revolution. Most of us were taught that this began in Greece, Rome, or Western Europe, but history left a trail of receipts, and today we are following them back to the source. Chapter 1. The Code of Civilization. Let's start with the phone in your pocket. It runs on binary code 1s and 0s. For decades, the West credited German mathematician Gottfried Leibniz with inventing binary in the 1700s. But Leibniz himself admitted his inspiration came from Chinese Cheng, which traces its lineage directly back to geomancy, an ancient African system of binary divination practiced for millennia across West Africa, most famously known as the Ifa system. Ifa used a straight-based two mathematical framework of 16 principal signs to record and transmit vast amounts of data. Long before European computers, West Africans were using a functional binary system to organize complex philosophical and computational information, and the concept of complex math itself. It starts with the Shango bone, discovered in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Dating back over 20,000 years, this baboon bone isn't just a tally stick. It is carefully carved into columns of notches, grouped in patterns. Mathematicians studying the bone discovered it contains a sequence of prime numbers, doubling, and a base 10 numerical structure. It is one of the oldest mathematical calculation tools on Earth. Chapter 2. The Masters of Matter. If you look at modern engineering, we are told the Steel Age began in Europe during the 1800s, but archaeology tells a completely different story. Deep in Tanzania and Rwanda, the Haya people were smelting high-carbon steel as far back as 1400 BC. They built sophisticated, preheated forced draft furnaces that reached temperatures of over 1400 degrees Celsius. To put that in perspective, these African blacksmiths were producing flawless carbon steel nearly 1500 years before European industrial plants figured out how to reach the same temperatures. When European colonizers arrived centuries later, they literally could not comprehend how African smiths were producing metal of such high quality without Western machinery. Chapter 3. The Blueprint of Medicine. What about modern medicine? If you look at the Edwin Smith Papyrus, an Egyptian medical text dating back to 1600 BC, you are looking at the world's oldest surgical textbook. This wasn't a book of spells or magic. It was a rigorous scientific manual describing 48 distinct clinical cases, including spinal cord injuries, fractures, and brain surgery. It details how to stitch wounds, set broken bones, and check a pulse. Thousands of years before Western science discovered penicillin, ancient Nile Valley doctors were using moldy bread as an antibiotic to prevent infection. They performed successful cataract surgeries, practiced dentistry, and developed a medical framework that modern triage units still use today. Chapter 4. The Scale of Imagination. How did they organize society to build on such a massive scale? Look at the Great Pyramid of Giza. For 3,800 years, it stood as the tallest man-made structure on Earth. No human civilization built anything taller until an English cathedral finally surpassed it in 1300 AD. The engineering is so precise that its four sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal points of a compass. The individual stones weigh up to 80 tons each, transported and placed with a microscopic margin of error. Even with today's advanced cranes and computer modeling, engineers still debate exactly how it was accomplished. But the genius didn't stop in Egypt. Travel south to Great Zimbabwe, built between the 11th and the 15th century. This massive city featured granite walls towering over 30 feet high. The mind-blowing part: they were built using dry stone masonry, meaning absolutely no mortar was used to hold the stones together. The stones were sculptured so perfectly that the walls have stood for nearly 1,000 years on sheer balance and structural engineering alone. Chapter 5. The System of Knowledge. To run empires like this, you need written language. While history books often act like writing escaped from Mesopotamia straight to Greece, Africa was independently developing some of the most sophisticated script in human history. Beyond Egyptian hieroglyphics, there was the Meroitic script of the Kingdom of Kush in the modern-day Sudan, dating to 300 BC. In Ethiopia, the Giz script was perfected, one of the oldest continuously used writing systems in the world, still actively used today. And in West Africa, the Nsibidi script developed as a highly advanced system of hundreds of stylized characters and pictographs used for law, storytelling, and elite communication long before external contacts. Chapter 6: Domestication and Discovery. Even the global economy as we know, it relies entirely on African botanical discovery. Consider your morning routine. Coffee is the second most traded commodity on earth, fueling a global industry worth over $100 billion a year. Every single coffee bean on the planet traces its ancestry back to a wild plant first discovered, harvested, and cultivated in the ancient highlands of Ethiopia. Furthermore, while agriculture developed concurrently in a few pockets of the world, Africa launched its own independent agricultural revolution in the Sahel region over 8,000 years ago, domesticating sorghum and pearl millet, two drought-resistant supercrops that currently provide the foundational diet for over 500 million people worldwide. Chapter 7: The Superhighways of Trade. How did this innovation spread? Not by land, but by water. For centuries, Swahili and East African mariners navigated the treacherous waters of the Indian Ocean using the dhow, a highly sophisticated aerodynamic sailing vessel equipped with lateen sails that allowed them to sail against the wind. Archaeological digs have uncovered Chinese porcelain, Persian pottery, and Roman coins buried deep in East African trading ports. African sailors weren't waiting to be discovered. They were active players in an ancient global trade network that linked Africa, Arabia, India, and China long before the age of European exploration. Chapter 8: The Science of Time. To sail the oceans and the farmland, you have to master time itself. In Saudi Egypt lies Napta Playa, a stone circle dating back over 7,000 years. It is the oldest astronomical calendar ever discovered on Earth, predating Stonehenge by more than 2,000 years. It was precisely aligned to track the summer solstice and the arrival of the monsoon season. This deep astronomical data laid the groundwork of the ancient Egyptian calendar, a highly accurate system based on a 365-day year and a 12-month cycle. When Julius Caesar needed to fix Rome's broken calendar system in 46 BC, he didn't invent a new one. He hired an astronomer from Alexandria, Africa, to adapt the Egyptian model. That system was eventually refined into the Gregorian calendar. Every single time you glance at the calendar on your phone to check the date, you are looking at a system designed by African stargazers. Human civilization wasn't built by just one corner of the map. It was built on a foundation of global genius, much of which began in the soil, the mines, and the furnaces of Africa. History didn't forget this knowledge, it just stopped talking about it. We are bringing this truth to life every single week. If this video changed how you see the roots of modern technology, hit that subscribe button, share this with someone who needs to see it, and drop a comment below. Which of these innovations surprised you the most? Let's talk in the comments.